Okay, so it's time to move to introduce the next speaker on the Removing the Blocks to Intimacy Summit. We're on day 2. And so I am now going to introduce Larry Michael, who is going to be talking about finding your freedom to be seen and heard. He goes as Akka the Love Shepherd, which I'm sure he's going to explain about. And he's founder of the Institute, get this, of Genetic Energetics, Master ERP. He's a relationship restoration coach. He's a speaker. He's a producer. He's an author. He's a steward for a revolutionary science which delivers an understanding of the impact and expanse of our energetic relationships, helping people break free of stories and to experience all the benefits of courageous intimacy. Hello, Larry.
Hello, good morning or good afternoon, I guess, on your side of the globe.
What time are you there?
It's, it's top of the morning. It's just 9 o'clock. So
he's in California.
Yeah.
He is in California. That is exactly right. And I'm going to actually.
Do we have other Californians here?
Yes.
Where are people from? I'd love to.
Yeah, let's
know.
hear. Let's hear. Where are people from? People can put in the chat where they're from, because I have actually muted everybody, because otherwise it gets to. So New Jersey. Hi, Jane. Got people coming in from all over.
Netherlands. Wow. New Jersey. It's one of my favorite accents for a U.S. accent. Hampshire. Okay, Germany. Wow. That's cool. I'll just have to come visit everybody. I was in Hampshire, UK, gosh, 30 years ago. I bet it's changed.
Yeah, I'm sure it probably has. There's probably more people there than there were before, but we're coping just about. We had the King's birthday today. I don't know if anybody watched a bit of that on the news, the BBC News, and all of their beautiful red. King Charles was on a horse, and he had that big, what's it called? I don't even know actually. And it was actually very spectacular. But anyway, I don't want to be talking about that. I want to hear what you've got to say, Larry. So what is the number one thing in the way of true intimacy?
Oh, gosh. It's probably been said, but the number one thing in the way of true intimacy is vulnerability, I believe, is the ability to be just absolutely curious, and not curious to the point where you're asking questions because you want a specific answer, but you're asking questions because you truly want to know what the why is, or what it is that someone's saying. And if you're asking questions of yourself, the same thing. Like if you're trying to prove something, you're off onto the wrong start. But if you're really in the space of inquiry, that's a critical component. Without it, you cannot be intimate. It's just impossible, because it's all made up. It's all constructed. And intimacy needs to be authentic. It needs to be present. It needs to be radically honest. It needs to be now.
I'm taking in what you're saying. Yeah. Present, honest. And commitment. I mean, that's quite a lot what we've heard about today is commitment. And would that be kind of what you're talking about here? The commitment to, to understanding. You've got to want it.
Yeah, I look at commitment. It's a whole nother conversation, because a lot of people go into relationships and they're not always 100% in. And even when they say they're 100% in, oftentimes they're only committed to so much. They're not committed to absolutely everything that can come down the pike, right? So I have kind of commitment into a different category. But intimacy, it happens in a moment, right? So there's more surrender than there is commitment. Like you and I could be looking at, do we want to have a long-term relationship with each other? And we're asking that question. And so if you ask me, are you committed to me for, fully committed to me? And my answer would, if I'm honest, would be no, not now, not yet, not till I discover where I'm at and more about you. Then for sure I could answer that question and be radically honest. Now I have to be radically honest in the first place to even make that statement, because some people want to hear that you're 100% committed. So I think what it is, when you decide to show up in the present, fully decide to show up in a present, you don't have to even think about commitment. It's there already. It's inborn in that. Like if anything, if you're focused on now, you're focused on what's true now, what's possible now, what's being said or heard now. Uh, Commitment's just like a jolly word that you just put on top of it.
Got you. I get that. And that's a really, really powerful truth in my view. And what I think you were saying is that alongside that, there has to be honesty.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So there's a book out that it's been out for years and years called Radical Honesty. And it's a phenomenal book. And it speaks to, a lot of us, something comes up, we're nervous about it, we have fears around it, we're not sure we really want to share it. We may be extra quiet when someone's asking us questions. And there's this piece that's going, gosh, if I say this, what will it mean? If I say this, is the person going to tuck tail and run the other direction? If I share where I'm at, will they get mad? We're thinking ahead, we're not present. We're thinking ahead to what are the repercussions? Or will they think less of me, or look back into my past and dig up things that I've already dug up multiple times, right? So we have all these fears, all these beliefs that there's something damaging and revealing. And in this particular book, it's fascinating because it goes through all the way through the book, and the consistent thing that comes up is that when people finally just reveal, they just like authentically speak their truth, they don't hold back, they don't conceal, that the person receiving usually responds with, oh my God, thank you. Thank you. I mean, I knew there was something there. I didn't want to push too hard, but I was feeling more and more distant from you because I knew that there was something not being revealed. And yes, I get this is sensitive, and yes, what a challenging situation. And yes, thank you.
Mm.
Right. So being honest, being radically honest, is a huge criteria of being intimate. I have a term that I've used for years called courageous intimacy. And courageous intimacy is that top level of intimacy when you're radically honest, you're authentic, you're vulnerable, right? But you're also courageous. So if like something comes up and it just like you go, oh, you don't know really how you feel about it, then that's the point to step in, to actually step in, because out of every situation, when there is some angst, when there's something that's kind of holding us back, that's an indication that more than anything, now is the time to step into it. And this is at that point where we grow. It's where we emerge. It's where we evolve. And intimacy is not about a stagnant thing. Intimacy is about growth. It's about expansion. It's about evolution, as my friend Timothy Freak would say. If you know Timothy Freak, he's in the UK. He's a fabulous philosopher. But it's our evolution. It's how we grow. And if we're courageous and we have all of those other elements, what we get is this amazing gift, which is co-creation, which is an essential ingredient to a quality, blissful relationship, co-creation and serendipity. These are things that show up that you did not expect, that are the surprises that create the bliss that is the backbone of our relationships that are truly joyful.
So Larry, are there some times when it doesn't serve you, to be honest?
Ultimately, I would say no. Now, you could say, look at if I tell the person that, it's going to take them into a downward spiral. Now, if you're really, if there are situations where people are having a very difficult time, right? And they're not ready for a full reveal of the truth.
Yeah.
I mean, so we have to be kind on how we ask things, kind in how we step into things. But we don't have to be the person, for example, to always say everything, especially if we're recognizing or witnessing something in another person. But we can certainly be the person that asks questions to help them discover for themselves.
Yeah,
And
because
then,
I mean, sorry to interrupt, but it sometimes it seems to me that there has to be kind of an agreement that we're in the space together to have this intimacy, So, but if you're in a space with somebody who isn't agreeing with that, either in
so you,
words or
yeah, excuse me, you bring up a very important fact. And it's actually pretty well documented in psychological journals around psychology, is that there's different levels of intimacy, right? And in fact, there are 7 very clearly profiled levels of intimacy. There may be more. They may not need to be 7, but the first level of intimacy may be that it's like you meet someone, you're in a group, and there's a circle of people, and you're going around and meeting people, and you kind of put out your hand and you shake hands. You don't even look them in the eye. You just kind of like, yeah. And it's one of those floppy, wet, loose handshakes that doesn't impress. But there was, it was kind of a very mild acknowledgement of you exist, I exist. And that's it. That's as far as it goes. There's not even eye contact, right? And then there's the next step up, which is where there's really direct eye contact, and there's like a handshake or a hug, and you're present for it. You're recognizing the person. That's the next level of intimacy, right? And then you move up from there, and it may be a conversation and how willing you are to express and share, as well as how well you listen, right? It's another level of intimacy. And then you keep moving up and moving up. So here's the reality about intimacy. I personally love to be up at level 7 because that's where I trump and live. But if I meet someone that's still giving me one of these kind of wimpy handshakes and can't even look me in the eye, the intimacy that's possible in that moment is always the lowest common denominator. So I can't be the intimate person I want to be with this person because they're not going there, right? But I can meet them in the wimpy handshake if that makes them comfortable, right? I could give them, in the next level up, I could give them a really wonderful reflection. I can look at them in the eye and I can smile. And that might be as far as they're ready to go. They don't want to talk, but they just want to acknowledge our presence, right? So we have to be okay with meeting people where they're at. Now, if we're in a romantic relationship and we want a deep connected relationship, then there's a need to get to a level of intimacy where we're really expressing and learning and growing with each other. And if one is up at level 7 and the other is at level 3, you're not a good match in that moment, right? I'm not saying you're not a good match overall, because there could be things going on for the person that's at that level 3 that's unusual. It's like, where are you today? What's happening? So this is where inquiry is very important. People have a tendency to judge when they don't get the response they want, or they anticipate, or they've received in the past that they really like, and all of a sudden they don't get it. People will turn around and go, well, wow, do you not love me anymore? Which is a whole nother conversation, but that has nothing to do with love. Absolutely nothing. And if we try and generalize it in love, we depreciate ourselves and others. And so we have to remove that word from the equation. But what may be happening, if we don't take it personally, is it gives us an opportunity to ask, What's happening? What's this? This isn't the kind, gentle you that I'm so used to and I'm so enamored with and I'm so, committed to.
So,
Back
for
to that word
example, if
commitment, right?
somebody has has got a really bad health condition or something like that, that could
A bad health condition, a bad day.
bad day.
There
Yeah.
are so many things that go on in our life. We could have someone not show up for us the way we're used to, and if we don't inquire what's up, like if we just take it, we receive this attitude or whatever it is that come our way, and we start judging and concluding instead of ask what's up. We may find out that they got fired from their job. They found out their mother has cancer, and their dog got hit by a car. How resourceful would that person be? How much could that person show up for anybody in that moment? And if we inquire, then it gives us an opportunity to really go there and support them, right? Whereas if we just take their response and conclude that it means whatever we decide it means, that's a travesty. And quite frankly, in this world, people are too busy judging and concluding. Judging and concluding. We listen to the news, we judge and conclude. We listen to the news, we're told how to judge and conclude. We read newspapers these days, and it's not real investigative reporting, it's opinions. And those opinions are trying to influence us to judge and conclude. This is not a humane way to live.
I totally agree with you on that, definitely. But I just saw a question, so I wanted to just bring that in, if you don't mind, Larry. So somebody's asking, how do you bring your level up within yourself?
Oh, gosh. Well, there's lots of ways. So again, let's go back to inquiry. If you are feeling distant and you're not sure why, well, you have to want it, right? You have to want that connection. But even if you don't want the connection, then the question is, what is it? Why don't I want this? Why am I feeling distant? Why am I feeling lonely? Why do I feel like I can't connect? So there's beliefs. Every time you bring up a why, it's going to bring up a set of beliefs. Our beliefs control our actions. They totally do. They control our emotions. So if we're upset or we're fearful, the question to ask ourselves is, what do I have to believe to hold on to that emotion? What do I have to believe to create a barrier between myself and this person who really wants to get close with me? And let yourself get that answer. Don't look for an answer that you're familiar with or you want to hear. Listen for what comes up, because you're going to find out that belief may be some experience you've had in the past that has nothing to do with the person you're with right now. It may be something that your parent taught you when you were 3 years old or 5 years old, some trauma that you've had, some experience. And as soon as you identify that belief, you can ask yourself, wow, is this true? Is this really my belief, or is this someone else's? And if it's someone else's, my goodness, give it back. Just give it back. Thank you. I'm sure you had good intentions when you gave it to me. I'm going to assume you had good intentions when you gave me that belief, but I don't want it. It's not mine. It's in the way of my ability to be intimate with someone. So thank you, mom, dad, whether they're alive or gone. Here, I'm going to give it back to you. And I'm going to create something for me that's empowering and allows me to expand.
And
I hope that answered the question.
that's yeah, it
Thanks,
does.
Garrett, for asking that.
It's a good question and a good answer. And so does everybody have the ability to move up the scale? And what things can you do to actually, help you?
I would say absolutely yes, but that's conditional. Okay, so where we are in any moment is going to dictate how much we can show up for ourselves and others. I'm trying to think where to go with this. That's not going to just add a whole bunch of just send us down another path. But this is a critical one. Let's take love. Love is a life force. Love is not an action. It's not a behavior. It's not a circumstance, although lots of people define it like that. Love is not even love languages. Love languages are not love languages. They're languages that show us what we're interested in, whether we like touch, whether we like words of affirmation. Putting the word love on it was nice marketing, right? But it's really circumstances and behaviors that are really important to know. Calling them love creates a possibility that at any point in time, when it doesn't show up, we're going to depreciate ourselves or someone else. So what is love? If we had to define it, it's a life force. It is us. Every breath, every person here has chosen to be alive today. You took a breath this morning when you got up. You did the most unconditionally loving thing you could do. You chose life, right? Every breath we take is that life force flowing through us. Now, if that's the case, how come we have situations where we don't feel loved or we feel lonely and it just, what's going on? Well, it's not the only thing that's happening in our body. We also have tension, and tension is what creates and forms the ego. It's what brings in all the different things that we do in our life. Oh, you get up in the morning, you feel great, you take a breath, you put your feet over the side of the bed, you touch the floor, you go, oh, this is cold, right? It's like, I need to turn the heat on in this place. And then you hear the kids screaming, going, I'm hungry. And you got to take them to school. And then you have something that you've got to do at work. And then traffic is hard. And then this and then that. And there's all these things that can create stress or tension. So we have to do a dance with those things. And being aware of them, of those two attributes of who we are as human beings, a life force of love, and tension, which is all the circumstances that we're in. If we allow ourselves to look at all of those, we can be a whole heck of a lot gentler on ourselves and approach life very, very differently. Never being without love, ever, 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 right? And being able to take a look at our circumstances and approach them not with anger or conclusion or judgment, but with curiosity and hope, a lot more humanity. We can honor and acknowledge differences. My work in genetic energetics is all about looking at what we are so that we can appreciate and honor and respect both differences and similarities rather than go into story.
Would you like to say just a little bit about, explain a little bit what genetic energetics is? Yes, I couldn't even say it. So yeah, but yeah.
Okay. It's a tongue twister until you get to know it, right? Yes. So genetic energetics is actually the oldest methodology that humans have for determining how to connect and who they wish to connect with. It goes back as old as mankind. It's a new science in that about 45 years ago, it was given a vocabulary and there was research done on it that helped us understand and define certain characteristics that we have as human beings, what we call lifestyle traits, as well as modalities or modifiers. And they determine how we communicate.
Sorry, what is a modifier?
Well, I'll tell you, I'll get to it. I'll get to it. Okay. So the lifestyle traits tell us how we communicate, how we process information, live our life, our relationship with money, how we sexually engage. All of those are massively well defined and they're genetically coded. So here's the thing. We have a genetic signature, a frequency that we vibrate at. And that frequency either harmonizes or doesn't harmonize with another person. Definitely harmonizes with ourselves. When we're in flow and we recognize who and what we are, we're in great shape. But when someone else shows up and they're very different than us, it kind of like, oh, well, this is kind of bumpy. This is different. This is challenging. And it might be really great challenging. It might not be so great, whatever the case may be. But we want to make sure, most important, that we're not coming up with a belief that that person is like an energy vampire, for example. All of us have probably heard that term, used that term. And I'm going to tell you right now, emphatically, there is no such thing as an energy vampire. not a person who intentionally tries to take energy from you. There are people that have two different frequencies that don't harmonize, and in some circumstances they push against each other, and that wears us down. And when that happens, that's genetic, that's not intentional. And sometimes, by the way, we live with those people. Sometimes they're our beloved, sometimes they're our children. They just have a different genetic makeup. And so can we make them wrong for wearing us down, for having us sidetracked in a one way or another? No, we shouldn't. But we can definitely honor that difference and learn how to accommodate with it. So genetic energetics provides this opportunity to get us out of shame, blame, guilt, resentment, judgment, all things that take us completely out of the present, all things that make it almost impossible for us to be intimate with each other, all things that are generated by stories that oftentimes are not true, and instead allow us to honor and acknowledge and respect and hold and see someone and express our love to them, right? What would you rather have? So the latter, of course, right? And we get to be present. So genetic energetics is a science that provides information that makes it possible for that to happen easier. And it's very, very simple. So that's our work. And modifiers, by the way, there's 6 of them in our system. They just describe different characteristics that are genetically driven.
So I'm just going to say to everybody at this point, because that this is why, folks, you need to make sure you do the VIP upgrade, because the content here is it's deep, and it's very there's a lot to grasp in what James is saying, and it's quite, at least humbly for me, I'm going to need to listen to what you've been saying again, because there's a lot of content in what you're saying, and so you may want to just just get that VIP upgrade so that you're able to listen to this talk again. There was something that you were saying there that I wanted to just kind of get at, and I'm just trying to find my way into it. Because from what you were saying, the way that this works is that fundamentally, at the sort of root level, we actually, human beings, that we are benevolent. We are, and that's the same for all human beings. And so when there is discordant behavior, disruption, etc., that's coming from a place of where the vibration is not matching with another's vibration, or the vibration that's going on around that person. Does that make sense?
Well, we're always under the influence of the energetic frequencies of other people, right? They especially if we want to engage with them. If we don't care about them, I mean, if you meet someone and you're just not even compelled or interested, the universe says, no, keep walking. That's just another person passing you on the sidewalk, right? Then there's not much contact there or much impact. But if you stop, as soon as you stop and engage, then you have these frequencies, they're always vibrating. This has been part of our being as human beings forever. It's much kind of like, I'm going to give you an analogy, kind of step back a bit. So we have a blood type, right? All of us have a blood type, A, B, O, A negative, B, all various different blood types, right? So if we're going to have surgery and we go into a hospital, we picked a doctor, we picked the right hospital environment that we feel safe in. We've done our research.
Not if you're in the UK, actually, Jim. In the UK, you probably just have to take a lottery and go to the National Health, but never mind.
Okay, so hopefully the doctor there is a good doctor, right? But one thing for sure, if you're going into a hospital, and this is pretty much anywhere around the world, and you need to have a blood transfusion, they're going to check you to make sure they have the right blood type, correct? Right? Yeah. Because if they transfuse you with the wrong blood, you could die. Okay. So here we are, we have this energetic blood type, and we're doing relationship surgery all the time without knowing it. Right? And so what this does is just provide us that information. So when we do want to engage, when we do choose to get closer to someone or interact with someone, that we have information that allows us to really accommodate and respect and appreciate how they show up. Because I mean, to be realistic, all of us love it when someone shows up that's just like us, because it's so easy, right? If someone talks the way I talk, it's like, wow, this is so easy. We meet people and they become our best friends instantly, and we go, I can't talk to anybody else like you, right? And we have these experiences that are really glorious. Well, there's an energetic match going on there. That's why that's happening. And then we meet other people that we really want to communicate with, that we're very interested in for one reason or another. It might be even chemistry. The system, genetic energetics, actually is the only scientifically proven system that can tell you who you're going to have chemistry with. It's kind of a fun thing. And, you know, what happens with chemistry? Chemistry are brain chemicals and neurotransmitters. They get us all elevated in different ways. We put on these things, like these rose-colored glasses, and we go, oh gosh, you're just amazing, right? And it's brain chemicals. It's 7 different neurotransmitters and hormones that are all elevated in one way or another. So understanding these things just give us the ability to navigate in a healthy way, and to and be humane. You know, going back to humans, are humans, are we born predators? No, that's not a trait of the human being. We're born survivors, right? And so what do we need to survive in any circumstance? And, you know, how do we relate to others in that process? That's important to know. But we're not cruel, we're not mean, we weren't born that way. There is a circumstance that drove that behavior. There is a circumstance or circumstances that conditioned that behavior. We take genetic energetics into schools and stop bullying, right? We have bullying everywhere in the world, right? And we discover that that attribute is not something someone was born with, it's been conditioned. And we very quickly discover where it comes from, and we can very quickly change it.
Wow, that is totally and utterly amazing. And so are people who are listening to this able to take that test?
Oh yeah, absolutely. In fact, I think, I believe
You
I gave
did?
you a link for it.
Services,
And
no, that's not
yeah,
that.
I'm gonna put it in the chat.
Okay.
Give me a second. So the link I put in the chat is going to take you to a page where you have to create a new account, right? Because it's a secure system. And so you create an account, you get this thing called an OTP, you fit that in, and then you go to the profile and you run the profile. It's going to ask you for only 2 questions. And I don't want this to throw you off, but they're very simple. One of them, I know you know, which is your date of birth, month, day, and year. We don't care about place, we don't care about time, just your date of birth. The other it's going to ask you for is your opposite gender biological parent. So for me, it's my biological mother. For the women here, it's your biological father. And it's going to ask you for that. Now, you may not know that information. It's okay. Run the report without it.
You're asking for the date of birth.
Date of birth,
okay.
right. The actual date of birth.
Mm-hmm.
And the system, in case you're wondering where this is coming from, most people will assume at this moment that, wow, it's astrology. It's not. It's astronomy and quantum physics. So you have to understand, astronomy is a hard science. It's a very hard science. And a lot of astronomy is used for a lot of important scientific computations, right? And astronomy is also used by astrologists, by numerologists, by enneagrams, by gene keys, by human designs. These are all different stories that have been told to different astronomical conditions. So in our case, we're using astronomy and quantum physics, which brings us into frequency and energy transference and impact.
Wow, that is fascinating. And I have yet to do that test. I know you emailed that to me when we first connected, and I I've yet
What were you doing all this time? Were you a little busy?
just a little busy trying to get a few people
Just
to
a
come
little
to the
busy.
summit. Yeah, yeah, but
Yeah.
no,
It's
definitely.
very telling. It's very telling, and it's profoundly impactful and profoundly simple, which is really cool. Now, I'll warn you, once you know this information, it's like almost impossible to unknow it.
Oh wow, so
So
that's
so for the people that go to do this test, enjoy it. If you have questions, send me a question. We'll respond. We'll give you answers. And there's deeper levels that you can go with it, but this is the intro view for sure.
wow, that's really, really great. I'm sure that people are going to have a lot of questions because I think that probably, you've given us so much information that it's kind of like it's just all sinking in. Or I know that is the case for me. So, if folks have got any gurgling questions, you will be able to contact Larry afterwards. So, yeah, we'll be sending out
Gurgle
all your
on.
links.
Gurgle. I like that. Anybody want to gurgle? Anybody want to gurgle up a question? I'm watching the chat.
So, well, just another question that you suggested was that how do we misuse love?
Oh gosh. So we misuse love by I'm going to be kind with this. So when we try to define love as a behavior or a circumstance, as a verb, as an action, right? We misuse it, or on ourselves or others when those behaviors don't happen. We talked about this a little bit. So if you know someone who's really kind and considerate and is very present for you and sees you and feels you, especially reflects you back to themselves, that's where we feel really loved, right? In fact, if you ask yourself, when do we say to someone, I love you? We don't do it when they're mean. We don't do it when they're cruel. We do it in two circumstances. One, we do it as leverage. Like we may say, I love you because we want our children to feel like we care about them, or we want our partners to feel important, acknowledged, right? And they're used to hearing that. So there's like, they say, I love you, and we just have to blurt, I love you back because it feels like it's almost a responsibility, right? That's one way. That's not really an expression of love. It is really navigating and influencing and manipulating the situation. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but it's what we do a lot. And then the other way, and this is the really beautiful way that we express love, is happens when someone really sees us. We have a conversation. I mean, there's people, by the way, I'm sure everyone on this call at one time or another has just said to someone, just blurted out, oh my God, I love you. And you don't even know them. You just kind of just met them, right? But it's because they hear you, they listen, they make eye contact, and they literally reflect back to us this person inside that we know is important, that we acknowledge as the person we wish to be. They see that. And the result is we go, oh my God, I love you. I put a post up on Facebook the other day because I was in a Home Depot. It's a hardware store, big hardware store here in California, in the United States. And someone was going up the aisle, and inside their shopping cart, in their basket, were 6 puppy bulldogs. They were so cute. And I remember looking at them and going, oh my God, I love puppies. I don't love puppies. Puppies shit and piss and pee and whine. They're fun, but I might love my own puppy, but for the most part, what I realized in that moment is that it was how they made me feel. I smiled, I laughed, there was joy, and this is the person I like to be. And so in that moment, I love puppies. We go out in nature. We haven't been in nature for a while, and we go out and we go for a walk in the park or in the mountains. And there's that moment where sometimes you stop and you look around and go, oh gosh, I love Mother Nature. And what we're really acknowledging is nature showing us we are connected to this earth. We're stewards of this earth. Our feet are on the ground. You can smell it. You can feel it. Our bodies come alive. And it's that reminder. And so we say, I love this. And this is how we express the most beautiful love to people. Now, when don't we say it? There may be someone in our life who we're romantically involved with. It could be a brother or sister, mother or father or child. And if we notice, like, this desire to express our love just doesn't seem to be coming out, well, here's a time to go into inquiry. Great question. How am I showing up? Am I like blocking the ability for this person to see me? Or is this person blocking me out because there's something going on in their life right now? It has nothing to do with me, has everything to do with them. And so now coming back to your question, how do we misuse love? Well, when someone doesn't behave in a way that's normal or that we're used to or feels loving, in that moment, our tendency is to question whether we're lovable or whether we're loved. And in that moment, we depreciate ourselves and we depreciate that other person. We actually make them smaller. We give them less value. That's a travesty. And there's no need to do that. The thing to do is to go into inquiry. The discipline of inquiry is our source for joy. It is the most important tool that we can use when interacting with ourselves and others. And so let's not misuse love. Let's revere it. Let's look at it as what it is. It's our life force. We are love, right? Our expression of love happens because people are a reflection that remind us who we are. We can be the same for them just by being present, by being curious.
And so, Larry, I'm going to have to come in and say that I love you for being here today.
And we're out of time, right?
Yeah, really. And thank you. You've given so much in the time that we've been talking. And I know that people are going to want to, go and connect with you and take that test, the genetic and energetic. Never mind, Lorraine.
You got it. You did good.
I did it right. Okay, there you go. And that people are also going to probably want to listen to the replay, folks. So do upgrade to the VIP. So it just remains for me to say a big thank you. How nice to meet you. How nice to hear what you've got to share. And and I look forward to the next time. And thank you for coming along today.
Thank you for having me on the show. And I hope that everybody really is getting huge value out of all the speakers. It's so I love these compilations because you get to hear about so many people and how they approach life. And there's always, ahas and all of those. So I appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you for the invite. Thank you for the time. And thank you everybody for being here.
Thank you.